Family, it's your brother, Julian the General Smith Jr. Oh, let me get my flag right here for you. Okay, boom. And we are live in Smithonia, Georgia, at the Smithonia Plantation. And I'm standing here advocating for Plantations for Reparations. Now, my portion in this movement is to help bring education, as I am a 8th grade history teacher of Georgia history at Ronald E. McNair Middle School. And in order for our students to gain full understanding of education of Georgia history, it is very important that the history teachers go to where the history was made, in particular in Georgia, in America, and across the entire globe. Now, specifically and personally, being that my last name is Smith, right? And I know that as a descendant of enslaved Africans in America, I know that Smith is not a name that is native to the continent of Africa. And we know that it is through the process of colonialism and in the process of the American plantation system that the name Smith was placed upon the descendants of enslaved Africans. And so this is why it is important for me as a history teacher to be here today on the third day of Kwanzaa, which is Ujima, collective work and responsibility. And so what we are doing in the Plantation for Reparations movement is we are transitioning plantations from a place of pain to a place of education, healing, agriculture, education, entrepreneurship for the descendants, specifically for the descendants of enslaved Africans in America, so that those descendants will know what happened, how it happened, the effects of what happened, in addition to educating the American public to resolve racial tensions in terms of dignity, in terms of healing, in terms of reconciliation, so that we can be able to blaze a trail forward. We are not here to say what someone did to us. We are not here to repay pain with pain. We are here to repay pain with prosperity, to repay pain with healing, to repay pain with education. And so we sound the drum. Sound the drum for our ancestors. We played the trumpet, and during slavery days, we played songs like a swing low, sweet chariot, coming for to carry me home. Swing low, a sweet chariot, coming for to carry me home. So we uplift these songs because during slavery days, those songs were sung with a lot of more pain. Those songs had more faith, because as I stand here in Smithonia, Georgia, I don't know how our ancestors made it through, how they were able to plug into an underground railroad when you didn't know which way was possibly east or west or south or north in terms of how they were going to get where they were trying to go. So we also sound the shofar, as we know that as descendants of enslaved Africans in America, we are the people of the book. We are the people that Moses told, if you do not obey, then you will be enslaved. However, if you do obey, then you will have prosperity. And this is a shofar, a ram's horn, which is used especially with the Hebrew people to call together. And so we sound the ram's horn. And so as a general for the J.K. Smith Senior Foundation, it is my duty, responsibility, my role to be able to provide education in the Plantation for Reparation movement, to educate black children, to educate the American public. And we are thankful for the federal government with historic preservation, and with the legislation of Juneteenth, which is the federal enforcement of the Emancipation Proclamation. As one of the sons of freedmen, it is my duty to help execute and manifest what that looks like in 2022. We know what it looked like in 1863 or in 1865 on June 19th in Galveston, Texas. However, we want to implement what does the emancipation, the federal enforcement of the Emancipation Proclamation look like. And we also have here the flag that Marcus Garvey and his friends gave us, the red, the black, and the green, right? And as a symbol of unity for the descendants of enslaved Africans in America and abroad. And the last thing I would like to share with you in this presentation is that James Smith was a colonel in the Confederate Army, which committed treason against the American government. And there were brave black men who, after the federal enforcement of the Emancipation Proclamation, joined the Union Army. And they gave the Union Army the strength to defeat the Confederacy. Now, we know during Reconstruction, the people who owned plantations that raised arms against the United States of America were readmitted to the Union. Such individuals were James Smith, who owned the Smithonia plantation, which is more encouragement for the federal government to support the Plantations for Reparations movement as it atones for its original sin, as President Joseph Biden mentioned, to save the soul of America. America must repent for her original sin, which is not capitalism, it's not segregation, it's not police brutality. The original sin of America is slavery. And this is why we are here, not in terms of violent vengeance, but in terms of nonviolent revolution for justice, for recompensation of what the enslaved Africans on lands like these did. So we thank you. We look forward to working with you, to all levels of government, from the president to city council, to county commissioner, to state governor, and all levels of government. Senator Warnock, Senator Ossoff. We are here to work with you for that Georgia can be an example of how do states legislate, practice the economic justice of reparations for slavery. Because if you're going to close the wealth gap, if you're going to close the education gap, if you're going to close the mental health gap, if we're going to resolve violence, which is rooted in poverty, and that poverty is rooted in American slavery, as the American freedmen never got any real recompense during their time, never got any real land, and we cannot calculate the amount of wealth that was accumulated or not accumulated to black families. But somehow, by God's grace, not only did black people survive, we achieved. And we have not once committed any crimes against the American government like you saw on January 6th. Those were not black people. Those were not freedmen. And the freedmen have every right to be able to have such a perspective. But we have been the friend of American government. When you needed soldiers for war, we were there for you. When you needed to fight to preserve this nation, we were the ones that answered the call. And so we submit to you to be part of, be a symbol of freedom, to ensure domestic tranquility, to ensure justice in this land. So we thank you, and we look forward to working with you. Julian Smith, your General of the J.K. Smith Senior Foundation, live at Smithonia Plantation.